Check this out. I can receive email summaries as Telegram messages. I can also send ChatGPT a voice note and it's going to give me an answer. I can even generate DALL-E images right from Telegram. So in today's video, we're diving into 2 ways you can create a ChatGPT powered Telegram bot. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. The first one is going to use the no-code workflow automation tool called Bardeen. Again, no code required. And the second one is going to be very low code. You do not need to know how to code yourself, just follow along. I promise, it's not rocket science. Phew. First, let's build a chatbot using Bardeen. You'll need to download the browser extension. I'm going to leave a link to it down below. And Bardeen already comes with a lot of pre-built automations. This specific one is going to send new emails as summaries that are generated by OpenAI to Telegram. So you can click on these 3 dots and open the automation in the builder to see what's inside. The first action is a trigger action. It says when an email is received, then you're going to generate a summary of that email and send it as a message. So let's click on done and click on the automation to try it out. I need to provide my Twitter handle. When you go to Telegram, you can click on preferences and see your handle. Now let's copy to the clipboard. I'm going to paste it over here and click on activate. One very important thing you need to remember is that the first time when you activate this automation, you need to send a message to Bardeen bot so that it can message you back. It's one of the requirements by Telegram. So just message Bardeen bot. Now let's go ahead and test this automation. You can do this by forwarding yourself an email. So you'll receive an email which will trigger this specific automation. Here I have one over here from a newsletter which I want to be summarized. I'm going to type my email and send it through. Now let's go back to Telegram. It looks like I've received 2 messages. Actually, one is a request to join Slack community and the other one is the email I've just forwarded as a summary. What makes Bardeen really cool is the fact that you can plug in your existing third-party services, process them with OpenAI, and get them sent to Telegram. In order for you to build a custom automation, you can just click on Create an Autobook, pick one of the services that you can see here in the left corner. You can also add new ones over here. For example, when there's a new calendar event created, you might want to get a notification. You can click on when something happens and pick your trigger from over here. You can also select an app that will show you all of the triggers. And here you can pick an action, something like when email is starred. So you can trigger it yourself manually by clicking on this star icon. Let's open up Bardeen back up. And then we're going to add an OpenAI action. One of my favorites is this classification actions. It has a number of different variables. For example, the text to process. Here we can pick the trigger action, text coming from the trigger action, and pick the body of that email. And then for classification, we can say something like important and not important. So those are the classes that we've created. Finally, let's provide a little bit of context. So here I say that important emails are the ones that are urgent or where I'm a bottleneck. That's the context for our classification. You can also pick a model from ChatGPT to process this with. I'm going to pick GPT-4. And now here's a really cool part. You can add a condition saying, hey, if an email is classified as urgent, then send it to Telegram. Now I'm going to send a very urgent email like this. Open it up. Let's trigger it by starring it. Okay, there it is. To build automations with Bardeen, you'll need only 3 actions: the trigger, the ChatGPT action, and finally the send message to Telegram action. Here are the OpenAI actions that are available. You can summarize text, get emails generated, do classification, sentiment analysis, recommendations, find action items in text, and even generate images with OpenAI. And now comes the second way to build a ChatGPT powered Telegram bot. Similar to ChatGPT that you're used to, you can text back and forth with it, but right inside Telegram. But my favorite feature is sending voice messages. So you can interact with voice with your chatbot, and you can also prompt ChatGPT inside Telegram to generate images using OpenAI's DALL-E, which is really awesome. You can text back and forth in different languages and so much more. So it's going to be a really cool build. One thing that you need to remember is that this is going to be slightly technical, but this is not rocket science. I'm a very beginner programmer, and if you get stuck at any point in this tutorial, you can always go to ChatGPT and ask it how to solve a problem at hand, and most likely you're going to be able to figure it out and get going very, very easily. Here's the quick game plan. There are only 2 steps. Step number 1 is for us to copy a pre-built coding template. And number 2 is to deploy that code in the cloud so that we do not need to run the code on our computer, because when our computer is off, you no longer can use your Telegram when you're on the go. So 2 steps. Number 1, coding template. Number 2, deploy it in the cloud. Ready? Let's dive right in. So for the first part, we need to copy the templated code. There are 2 versions that I tried out. Both of them work pretty well. The first one is by this guy over here, and this allows us again to send voice messages. Here is a list of features that you have that this specific version provides. And then most importantly, you have your installation instructions. And then there's this other version that I also tried out, which is super neat. It has a little bit more functionality. You can try it out yourself as well, but sending it to the cloud is going to be slightly more challenging and slightly more complicated. So I'm going to go with the first version just for this tutorial. So if we scroll all the way up, we have all of the files over there that we're going to duplicate on our local machine, on our computer. And then you have the README file that has the instruction. Pretty simple, right? The first thing that I want to do is I want to fork this repository. Forking means that you're going to create a copy of all of the code and all of the information. So if you make any updates, if you have your other version of this chatbot, you can have it saved inside GitHub in the cloud so that other folks can potentially use it as well. But we're going to be using it later on to deploy this chatbot in the cloud. So let's click on Create Fork. As you can see here, we have all of the files, but now they're under my name, and I can click on this code button, drop down, and then click on Open with GitHub Desktop. If you don't have GitHub Desktop installed, highly recommend you to use it because it is a visual interface as opposed to the terminal interface for you to interact with the repositories that you have inside GitHub. So in this step, we're asked where do we want to copy the files that were previously in the cloud? Where do we want to copy them locally on our computer? I have this coding folder right there. You can choose a different one if you want to. And I'm going to clone all of the files. So I have a copy on my device. I'm going to pick for my own purposes, click continue. And from there, you can just make sure that you are in the right repository. Click on this drop down, make sure that you have this repository selected. This is the exact copy of the template. And then from here, I can click on repository and open it in Visual Studio Code. This is my code editor. It's going to open up the workspace with all of the files that we can view here very nicely. Now let me give you a little house tour over all of the files that we've just copied. So we have requirements first. Those are the requirements for us to run the code. Every program, every app out there might use different language, different libraries, and it has different prerequisites. We'll need to install those. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. It just takes a couple lines of code that we're going to copy paste. Then there's the translations file that gives you all of the support messages, but in different languages. We have the standard license file over here, the Docker file, which you do not need to know anything about. And most importantly, here in this folder called bot, here you have the main file. Main.py, so it's a Python language file, and this is where your chatbot is located. This is the program that we are going to run. Then there is your environment file .env, which will store all of your password, the Telegram bot tokens, etc. We'll come back to that file in a second. Let's go back to this README file and follow the instructions. The first thing that we want to do is we want to create a new virtual environment. This will have all of the prerequisites installed for our program to run. This is a Python command, meaning that you need to have Python installed. If you've never opened a code editor, a terminal, most likely you do not have Python installed yet. So make sure to go down to the description of this video to download Python. So I'm going to copy this line of code, and then I need to run it somewhere. I need to run it from this workspace, from this folder. The easiest way to do it is to create a new terminal right from this spot over here, so you need to have a separate window open. Here we have terminal. I can just paste it over here. So we're going to create a new virtual environment. Here I have this folder that was created, which is super neat. Then we need to activate this environment. So I'm on Mac, I'm going to run this command over here. And just like this, now we have this virtual environment running. Copy paste, pretty simple. Then we need to install all of the requirements for this code to run. Let's run this action over here. Bingo, that's it. Simple, right? And finally, we need to run this last line of code. This is going to open up this bot folder and it's going to run everything that's inside main.python file. This has everything that we need for the chatbot to run. But before I do that, I realized that I haven't configured my environment. I haven't added my OpenAI API token. I haven't linked a bot. So before running this action, let's go and do exactly the environment setup. So let me open up the file over here, and there are 4 items that we need to get set up. First, we'll need to set up the OpenAI API key. It's like the password to your OpenAI account, and OpenAI is not exactly free, but it is extremely cheap, but you still need to somehow link the two together. In order for us to do this, let's open up our browser, go to platform.openai.com over here, and here in the upper right corner, we're going to click on View API Keys. Then we can create a new secret key and call it Telegram Chatbot. And that's how easy it is to create an API key. Make sure to keep it private because it's an equivalent of your password. I'm going to paste it over here. And now we have the OpenAI API key. So how expensive is OpenAI and this chatbot going to be for us? Well, honestly, it's extremely cheap. I'm going to click on usage over here to show you my usage. I've used ChatGPT extensively in the recent days. There's a really cool video that I recorded about how to use ChatGPT inside Google Sheets. You can click right here to check it out. Extremely useful. But there I ran ChatGPT a few thousand times, and for a few thousand requests, I got billed 13 cents for that specific day. Another really handy practice, if you're worried about budgets or anything of that nature, you can click on billing and then click on usage limits and then create hard and soft limits. We're back in our environment file, and next up we need to get a Telegram bot token. In order for us to get it, we need to go to Telegram over here, and then you will need to message botfather. So message at botfather. And then if you click on the menu over here, you can pick new bot and a new bot will be created. The first thing is to give it a name. I'll call it Renato Awesome ChatGPT. And then it has to end with bot at the end. Okay. And just like this, there we have the access token. This is the information that we're looking for. I'm going to copy it and paste it over here after the equal sign. There are a couple more variables over here, such as the admin users. You can make yourself an admin if you want to. It doesn't really matter, but I think admin is very valuable if you want to add this chatbot to pre-existing Telegram groups, so you can interact with the chatbot in different places. For me, I'm just going to leave it blank, or according to the instructions, have this dash over there. And then the users that are allowed to interact with the chatbot, I'll say anybody can interact with my chatbot. Again, I'm going to just follow the instructions and have this star sign after the equal sign. Okay, just like this, there we have it. Here's a quick and a very important thing that you need to know in order to actually run this code is the fact that this is the .env.example file. And then if you click on git ignore means that this file is not going to be sent into the cloud because you do not want other people to see your private passwords, obviously. So in git ignore, you have this .env file. It's right there. So instead of having .env example, we're going to rename the file and have it as .env, just like this. So now this file is linked up to the code properly. Drum roll, here comes the last part, running the code. It's time. So all we need to do is copy this line of code. Again, it's going to launch everything that's in that main.py file. Then we're going to paste it in our terminal and hit return. Boom, application started. So what do you do from here? Well, you go to Telegram and then you message your chatbot. Here is my chatbot, not awesome chatbot. I'm going to click on start, and I'm ChatGPT bot. Talk to me, just like this. Sup? Hello, how can I assist you? The favorite part is using this microphone. Hey, what's up, ChatGPT? What can you help me with today? What are your capabilities? This was a voice note. This voice note is going to get transcribed, and we're going to get a nicely formatted response. Check this out. This is exactly what I said. And here it says, hey, I'm an AI model. So that's it. This is how it works. You can generate images. Let's click on menu and do image. I guess we'll need to do image and then say pink cat in Nikes. And that's the image generated by OpenAI's DALL-E. What else can you do? Well, let's click on menu and see the options that we have available. Let's click on stats and see all of the requests that we had. One image was generated, 358 tokens used, total amount of 2 cents. Our ChatGPT powered Telegram bot is up and running, but it's only going to run as long as you have your computer turned on. I'm going to demonstrate this by just closing our terminal session over here and say, hey there, just like this, and nothing. It's not working. So we need to deploy this code into the cloud so it runs in the cloud. Let me show you how to do exactly this. So now let's go ahead and deploy this code into the cloud so that our chatbot runs all the time. In order to make all of this possible, we're going to be using railway.app. It's entirely free and it's super easy to install. Just make an account, click on new project over here, and because you forked the library, you can click on deploy from GitHub right here and select your ChatGPT Telegram bot. This is a very important part. Here we need to add variables. The stuff that you edited previously is not going to be visible to this app because number one, this file was ignored, the environment file with all of your passwords. And number two, we didn't send any files from your local machine into the cloud anyways. So we'll need to copy paste some of the variables manually. So here in the variables part, we can copy paste the information, I guess, from our Visual Studio Code right here. Let's open it back up. Let's open up our environment file, and this is the information that we ideally want to copy over here to the variables. Instead of doing one by one, you can just do raw editor, and let's just select everything that we have here. These guys are commented out, meaning that they do not really matter. So I'm actually going to copy this first 4 variables and paste them here in environment. Click on update environment, and just like this, you have all of the files from the original template that I showed you. There is absolutely nothing that was changed, but these files that we configured previously with the environment, all of the variables, all of your passwords are over here. So now they're running really nicely. So if you click on deployments, you have this session initializing. Let's click on this guy over here, initializing, and then you have build logs. This is going to be very similar to the terminal so that you can see what's actually happening in the background. Very similar to what we did locally on our computers. All of the prerequisites such as Python, all of the libraries, OpenAI, Telegram bot Python library is getting installed, but in the cloud this time. So it's going to be running in the cloud. And when we scroll down, we'll see everything that's happening. And just like this, you have your deployment logs. Here it says application started, similar to what you saw in the terminal before. There's some sort of an error message. I'm not exactly sure what this means, but let me go ahead and open up our Telegram bot. And there it is. You remember I sent this hey there message and nothing happened? Well, now this request was caught. I'm going to say something else. You alive? Okay, and now it's working in the cloud. To demonstrate this, I can exit out of the code editor. I can close GitHub like it does anything really. But here you have all of the requests, but this time this is running in the cloud. So all of my messages, when I send something, is going to be visible over here inside Railway app. Let's do a voice message. What date is today? Obviously it doesn't have real-time data. Good for us, but the request is visible over here. Just like this, the app is running in the cloud. Everything is done, and we are good to go with our second method of creating a ChatGPT powered Telegram bot. If you want to take your game a step further, I do recommend you to check out this other repository over here with the code that allows you to do a couple more things. And there are a few really cool upgrades in this version. There is GPT-4 support, code highlights, there's specialist modes where you can say, hey, you're my code assistant, and there is a pre-built prompt that was sent to ChatGPT, so it has all of the context, so you can text with, say, Elon Musk or a psychologist, an artist that can generate images for you, or in this case, a code assistant, which is super handy. You can give it a try as well, but remember that this installation is going to be slightly more technical, especially when you're trying to roll it out in the cloud. You can find all of the links and resources that I showed you in this video down in the description. You can install Bardeen, you can try out the pre-built automations with ChatGPT, you can find these two repositories that are open source for you to try out, the Railway app, and other super useful things. Generative AI is a massive game changer, but my favorite part for productivity is using ChatGPT inside Google Sheets. I've recently created a video about exactly that use case. It blew my mind, and I'm a massive user, so make sure to check it out right there to save a lot of time and to unlock new possibilities. Click here.